What is up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Thanks for stopping by. Your one stop.
Your one stop.
Yeah. There we go with the echo in my mic here. Let's go. All right, there we go. Thanks for stopping by. Your one stop for everything Adventure Radio. It is Hump Day. It's time for the Hump Day Happy Hour. Hopefully, we're going to have a good stream. Hopefully, our guest shows up because he is not here yet. But before we get started, yeah, I was thinking this is just shenanigans stream. Before we get started, we'll give a shout out to the Patreons because they are absolutely awesome. They help keep me in gas, keep me in a lot of things. And if you are interested in becoming a Patreon, we are currently running a special. You can join the top activator, which would be the ones in the blue here. You could join them for absolutely free for 7 days. Just head over to Patreon. Link is in the chat. And get your free trial at it and see what it's all about. Also, here's the Adventure Club standings. Bruce with a big off-stream donation right before the stream. And I appreciate that very much, Bruce. Always good to get you on the air and in the super chats. But those things are going to really be shook up after tonight anyway, because it's the last day of the month. So I got all that first of the month stuff coming in.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of work tomorrow morning for me, that's for sure.
It's the first of the month.
Yeah, first of the month. Everybody's like, we're not here to see you, James. Where's the bus guy at? Come on. Hey, maybe he'll show up in a minute. If not, you'll just have to deal with me and Dan and all our craziness. We'll figure out something to talk about. But what's been going on with you, Dan?
I've been taking up knitting.
Knitting? That's interesting. We're not even going to remotely talk about that. That's something you and Terry should talk about over a candlelit dinner.
I've knitted little Reese's cup wrappers. They're really nice.
That's absolutely excellent. Reese's cup wrapper.
Yeah.
Terry. So if you would like some hand knitted Reese's cup wrappers, make sure and hit Dan up.
On a side note, totally not related, but kind of related, but off topic, I guess. Terry said they're easier to peel off the Reese's cup if they're frozen. They don't stick to the paper.
Okay.
So
I got you.
Just a word for the wise. Word for the wise.
So anyway, while we're waiting on our guests to hopefully show up, this weekend's kind of a big weekend coming up. It is the Plaque event week. You know, this is going to be the first time in contest mode. I'm curious to see how that's going to pan out. And I've said that I'm not going to go for a plaque, but here I'm sitting today, and I was like, do I want to go for a plaque? So I don't know. I'm undecided. If you think I should go for a plaque, tell me what plaque you think I should go for. Doesn't mean I'm going to listen to you or even go for one, but I'm curious what you guys think I should go for if I tried it. Dan,
I think I'm going to go for a plaque.
I think you're going to go for a plaque. What are you going to go for, Dan?
All of them.
All of them. There we go. That's the way to do it.
Go big or go home, right?
Yes, I should definitely go for rookie. I agree with that, Chris. But despite me trying to convince Jason that I was a rookie, he did not fall for it in the least. So, actually, the rookie category to me, it ain't even really a rookie category because when I think rookie, I think 3 months or under. So they gave that pretty broad. But
no, I mean, on a serious note, I think your digital operators will be safe. I can't get bandpass filters here before this weekend, so y'all be safe on digital. I was going to run digital simultaneously, but I can't get some descents and overloading issues squared away. So.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
You know, I don't know. I sent a couple messages out to a couple people and seeing what people's going for and this, that, and the other. Because I'm curious what other people are going for, but it's going to be interesting. What's going to be not interesting is not being able to use a lot of the bands. You know, that's going to be pretty uninteresting. I'm really gonna. I mean, here's the thing. If I'm not going for the black, we all know I'm still going to be in the park all weekend. But do my normal? Do I go to 60 meters? Would I have the hunters willing to hunt me on 60 meters when they're knowing it's not counting for it?
All right.
So it's kind of a iffy thing either way. Uh,
Hi, Mom.
oh, mom in the chat with Chipotle. I noticed
Yeah.
mom's been doing a little bit more activating lately.
Yeah. Got him
Good
on
to see.
CW over the weekend. I believe it was. Our days are running together. I think it was over the weekend.
That's always a good thing, and I'm actually considering making mom happy on Friday morning. I'm not even going to say doing what, but I'm considering Friday morning. Before the Black Weekend starts, it if it even starts for me, uh, in making mom happy. So we'll see if that happens.
You gonna make her breakfast in bed?
Mm, Mom would like sun drop in bed probably.
Sun drop in bed. That's true. Didn't even think about that. Hey, Chris, what's going on, buddy?
Chris hunted me. I think it was last night, and the pileup was pretty big last night, and I just said "kapow" 5'9", and just kept going. I never even said his call sign. I just like "kapow" 5'9". He's like 5'9", James. Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder, what some of the hunters actually think during some of my activations.
I mean, especially the ones that haven't been around the block once or twice.
Right, because like here's the thing: the Patreons all have these inside jokes with each other, and they end up coming out on the stream a lot. And I know quite a few people there when me and Dan first doing Minganese during the activations. Like it would go silent afterwards.
Yes.
Like it would go from to.
Yeah.
But now they're kind of used to it, and they just go right back into the pile now. So, so PP Man's been having the time of his life last couple of days.
Did you hear the pile up that Joker had last night?
Which one?
On 40.
Who's the Joker? PP Man?
Yeah, PP Man. I think it was last night when he went out.
He told me this morning that you and Terry were PP manning to him about trying to get through.
Right.
And for those of you who don't know what PP man, that means fussing because you're not good enough to break the pile up. Because
I wasn't fussing. I gave him a 10 by 10 golf alpha.
No,
he had a pile up that I think it put him in a coma for a little while.
Well, that was probably Knob Creek, but
possible. He
He
did a good job, though.
It's good. It's good for a QRP guy. That makes me happy to hear QRP guys getting pileups.
Yeah.
Because that means the band was good.
Speaking of good bands, this afternoon 6 meters was wide open to northeast United States from here.
All day at work, people kept saying 6 meter openings, 6 meter openings, and I'm like, why? Why not when I'm not home?
Yeah.
Or not at work, I mean.
I think 6 meters is going to start to open up more and more.
Well, hopefully. It'd be nice if it was open this weekend. Because there sure will be a lot of people out this weekend.
You got that right. Be a good time to work on your hunter 6-packs too.
So this weekend you've got the Black Weekend.
Yep.
Which is going to bring every hunter and every activator out.
Going to bring all the boys to the yard.
And then starting at 00 UTC Saturday night, the Lewis and Clark event kicks off.
Yeah.
So
Sunday that kicks off? Or?
Well, yeah, technically Sunday.
I got you. Okay.
But I think, maybe it might start Friday too. I need to look. Because you know what, it says the third, but I think it might say 00 UTC. I need to look. It might start Friday too. So I won't be doing the Lewis and Clark until after Black weekend is over for sure. But after that, pretty much every activation but one will be under Whiskey 8 Lima Oscar Golf.
Yeah. When PP went out the first time, he took his Alex loop with him, and it did not do well. Everybody's like, "We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Turn the power up." But it turned out to be an antenna problem, not a radio problem. So he switched antennas to his random wire and came in 30.
Losing it in the river. Knowing PP Man, what happened was he didn't have the coax hooked to it. It wasn't working, so he threw the thing in the river, and then he called somebody and be like, "I don't know what was wrong with that thing. I just threw it in the river." And they asked him, "said Did you have the coax hooked up?" And he's like, "No."
I thought it was wireless POTA.
Same thing when the very first time he ever tried to hunt me on CW, was losing his mind in Discord. "Why don't you hear me? Why don't you hear me? Why don't you hear me?" I'm gone from the park and he's still in Discord asking people to come over and hear him. The next thing I know, he sends me a message. "I just threw my key out the window." I was like, okay, well, I mean, that was pretty crazy, but why? And he's like, "It don't work. It don't work." I was like, "Well, wait till I get home." I was like, "Hopefully you didn't break it, and we'll try to figure it out." And we start going through things when I get home, and it's called turning your break-in on, because that's how you get your signal out.
I could hear me. Why couldn't you hear me?
So that's probably what happened. He probably didn't have coax hooked to the loop, and he just threw it in the river. I don't know why I'm picking on him, because he's already losing his mind putting together my radio.
Yeah.
I got a message from him today saying, either I'm going to get this thing put together, or I'm going to buy you a new one already built and send it to you.
I bought an NFED the other day, and I said, "Hey, I can get this assembled or in a kit. I think I'm going to buy the kit and send it to you." He said, "Don't you dare." It was great.
Poor PP, man. Listen, he's had some issues with this kit. I mean, it's it's tiny. So,
well, yeah, the toroids are big around the dime, aren't
they? If that.
Jeez.
So, all right. Let's see if Mike has messaged me back yet.
Let's see. Kyle said he's going to be hunting all weekend. Awesome. I'm sure we'll cross paths.
Kyle, are you going to go for an award, or are you just going to hunt to be hunting? Is anybody in the chat going for a plaque? That's what I want to know. I want to know if anybody's going for a plaque. I wish there was a QRP plaque, because I would do that just to beat PP Man out.
Make sure you do it on an Alex loop.
Oh, yeah, on an Alex loop.
Hotel India 8 Delta, our amigo, our protector of the South, is going to be going for
what plaque are you going for, David? I figured you were going for one, and I almost want to say I know which one, but we're going to see what you say.
Eddie says no, he's just going to be chilling, activating as normal. Chris says no, plaque for him. David's doing the Hotel India 8 SDR club activation.
Okay, you're going so you're going for you're going for the club plaque. Interesting.
PP said he's going to go for the toroid wrapper plaque.
I don't think you're going to get it, PP Man.
Can you know what a jeweler's loop is? Can you imagine sitting there with a jeweler's loop and that toroid and a pair of tweezers?
Well, he was talking about something he did today, and he's like, I had to sit there with the magnifying glass to even see it. And I was like, oh my God.
Jeez.
I mean, and we all know PP Man's got plenty of magnifying glasses on hand, but,
Now, don't test it the first time. The day you get it back from him, don't test it on your rig and forget to turn the power down and blow 100 watts through it.
Oh, it'll only run 5 watts.
Oh, that's right. So it's a whole CW rig. Forgot.
Yeah, it's just a CW rig. Yeah, and it'll only run I think 5 watts is the way we're building it. Uh, PP man will chat. We'll say it in the chat. We're doing it with the nine. We're going to run a 9 volt is what we're going to run because if you do the 12 volt, you get I think 8 watts, but you can't use a regular Violino battery because it can only be 12 volts. It can't be 13 point whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, it can only be 12 volts, and yeah, we're doing the 5 watt.
Yep, 5 watts.
So,
So it just runs off a 9 volt battery.
yep, you can do a 9 volt, or you could build a battery, but I'm going to be doing a 9 volt. So
That brings back memories of testing to see if they're good.
that's right.
The tingle on the tongue. I don't think I've used a 9 volt battery in years, except in smoke detectors.
I think I'll get a couple of rechargeable 9 volts is what I'll do. That way I've always got them. I ain't got to keep buying them or whatever. But they should. I'm going to assume it's going to last a good while with it. So
Yeah, that might be an idea to put a diode in to bring the voltage down from 13 to 12. I wonder if your battery gets low and it's right at 12, if the same diode will bring it down to 11 and mess up. I don't know.
I don't know.
Diode.
I'm gonna look it when I do QRP. Even on my regular QRP radios, I typically turn it down low, because if I'm gonna do QRP, I'm gonna suffer. Right, I typically try to go as low as I can.
The boys, Dad, and Mom, going to be doing some activations in Georgia this weekend. Welcome to Georgia.
So that's one that the hunters will be wanting to get for sure.
Absolutely.
That is 4 contacts in one whack right there.
As a matter of fact, go do the DC Pfeiffer, please.
So that would definitely be that one. You better put them in your ham alerts if you're trying for a hunted black, because that's definitely something you'll want to hit. That's for sure.
Does the CW radio you're getting, does it have like memory, so you can like just press a button and send your CQ, or do you got to do it all by hand?
I'm probably going to say I have to do it all by hand.
I guess you could get an external key, or like a small little external keyer if you really wanted memories.
I'm sure you could. I don't know a whole lot about the thing. It's just looked cool as crap to me, and I was like, oh, cool. I need a third QRP radio to not use. So
I don't think you needed it. You just saw how many pieces were in the kit and bought it based on that, and said this would be good for him to build.
I think this would really torture PP Man to build.
Yeah.
Let me get this. Let me get this thing and see how much hair I can make him lose it.
When you get it back, say, thanks for building it, and just put it on the shelf and never use it. He would probably drive to West Virginia and strangle you.
I'll post QRP activations. He's like, how'd you like the radio? I was like, I used the 818.
You bastard. Oh, that'd be
great. He's already spent money building it because he keeps having to buy stuff. He had to buy something to hold it because he don't have enough hands because he's not an octopus.
Yeah.
And he had to buy something else. So he's already spent money building it. So I guess I'll have to actually do an activation with it.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
What else is going on for Black Weekend in the chat?
I'm wondering if Mike is thinking it's a different time where we're in different time zones, but I put Eastern time.
We'll figure it out in about 30 minutes.
Over here, guys. Like 2 hours, I'll get a message from him like, dude, I'm in this link and there's nobody there. Funny stuff.
Yeah, the scheduled guest might be next weekend now. I mean next week, excuse me. I keep thinking this is shenanigans.
That's another thing. I'm up in the air about shenanigans too, because if I do go for a
Yeah,
plaque, I can't do shenanigans on regular time. But
same here because from we do it at 6, and those are the last 2 hours of the plaque event, and that's prime time for 20 and 40 meters. So I definitely won't be here Sunday. I can get a lot of contacts in those 2 hours once it starts to open up. So.
yeah, hopefully the band conditions are good the whole weekend. Because if I do go for one, I don't want the last couple of days. There's been a couple of days where you're getting 20 contacts in a park. Well, I mean, if you sit there forever, you're going to get more. But me, I'm getting 20 contacts because I have ADHD and can't. We
Yes.
have a guest. Let's bring him out here.
Hey, man. Here he comes.
Yep.
There you go.
What's
Can you
up,
hear me?
buddy?
Welcome. What's up, buddy?
Man, I'm so sorry, you guys. So I'm in Arizona. I just got back to Arizona, and they don't change the time here. And
Really?
so I've been in Denver for the last like several months, and just got back here, and I'm thinking I'm on, Mountain Time, or am I on Pacific Time? And we're on Pacific Time, it turns out. So I set in fact, my alarm will go off while we're chatting.
Hey, it's no problem. We sat here and amused everybody.
Oh, yeah, we had fun.
But not a problem. So how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I kind of got out of a kind of a weird toxic working situation in Denver, and back down here in Arizona. And this is where we built our bus when we moved into. Because I'm living in a school bus.
Right. And
And sorry, go ahead.
we're here to talk about the CW, but I want to talk about the bus too because first off, your bus is amazing.
Thank
It
you.
it's something that I would like to do. Maybe not a bus, but maybe I'm thinking about maybe a little van and do that for a while. So, but
It's a
we'll
lot.
talk about that. But
It's fun. It's fun.
for those who don't know you, and I think everybody probably does, why don't you give us a little intro who you are and what got you started into YouTube and ham radio? Because you got two different YouTube channels.
Right. So my name is Mike, Michael King. K1NGZ is my call sign. Um, uh, we got into YouTube just by doing. We were building the bus, and I wanted to do a YouTube channel. And Carrie, my fiance, was like, "Okay," and she jumped in, and she did a really good job, and she actually took over editing and everything else. And we did that for like 3.5, almost 4 years. And I'd post some of my ham radio stuff on that channel, and get comments like, "I don't come here to watch ham radio."
Mm.
I'm like, "Yeah, I get it," So I stopped doing the ham radio on that channel. Just started my own channel because just because the people that want to watch ham radio can go over there and watch ham radio. So that's why I do that. But I live in a 40-foot school bus. We have been traveling for about 2 years, and we're kind of like ready to stop traveling and kind of settle down a little bit. It's just there are hardships that come with living in a mobile house, and one of them is like your hobbies, like you can't, like I can't have a big Yagi antenna. I probably could, but it'd be weird. But I can't have like a big home base antenna. That's one of my. I like doing, I like making stuff. Like right now, while we're here, I picked up a lathe, and I've been making new antennas using the lathe. And I actually started a company called Radioactive Antennas. www.radioactiveentennas.com. Little plug. But I'm making like really good POTA style antennas for portable apps, and I'm just having a good time, and it's nice to just be more relaxed and I don't know, have a little more, just have a better time at work, I guess.
Right. Now I've seen your bus, not in person, of course, but I've seen the videos, and the thing is absolutely amazing. You did a really good job,
Thank
and
you.
I absolutely love what your fiance did with the shower. She did a great job on that thing. That thing looks great. Um, but yeah, it's really cool, the work that they put into it. So if you haven't seen it, go check that out for sure. Dan can drop the links to both of your channels in the chat. But
Thank you.
Did.
awesome, thank you, sir. But he also does some ham radio, and I'm kind of jealous of his call sign because
I love it. It's good.
because I it's like I'm the Pota King. I need a sign. I'm looking at these signs and I see they're all taken, and then this guy's got my call sign. I'm like, no. But
Wait, I didn't know. Is your last name King also?
no.
Well, then you don't get it.
No.
Bam.
That's just my title.
Nice.
Yeah, you have to excuse me. My eyes watering here, but so what got you started into ham radio?
I started when I was 14, and so I'm 52 now. When I was 14 years old, I had a gentleman. I don't. It was a friend of my dad at his work, and I was doing some side work, like helping move boxes at this company. And I was like 14, and this guy, I guess he saw my interest because my dad was a full-on rocket scientist, like for real, quantum physicist, the whole nine. And he was working for this company doing infrared and all this stuff. And I was really into all the gadgets they had there. And I think this guy saw that I was interested in those gadgets and stuff. And he kind of asked me if I would be interested in ham radio. I'm like, what's that? And so he talked me into it. I took my novice test and passed my novice. And I was novice for years and years. And then finally, like way down the line, I got my tech. And then the next year I got my general, and I've been holding a general. I've been thinking about taking the amateur extra, but finding the time just like anybody else. That test is actually pretty mean. So, but yeah, I think I didn't really solidly get into ham radio until I'd got a general license. I think that, and that's why personally, that's why I encourage people, if you get your tech, just study for both, or try to get your general as fast as you can, because really that's when the doors swing wide open. Tech is just, you just get this taste, but boy, you just don't get all the fun. So
Absolutely, yeah. General's definitely where it's at. Like, and I had no intention of getting mine. I got my tech on my dad, and if I wouldn't have just got bored one night and I hooked up his old HF radio, and I was just scrolling around the band, because I inherited his house, so I got his antenna and it was all hooked up, and I was like, I'm just going to listen. I can listen, and I'm scrolling, and I hear this crazy pile up, and it ends up being a Parks on the Air, and next thing I know, I'm searching Parks on the Air on YouTube, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to be a ham. I'm going to be a real ham. And you're right. It just absolutely opens the world up.
Parks on the Air, I don't care what anybody says. Like, there's some people that talk bad about Parks on the Air. Parks on the Air revolutionized ham radio. It took ham radio to a level of what ham radio was designed for. Is the experimenter, the portability, emergency ops. Like, I could go on and on. Nothing. It's like field day every day. It's just, it is so powerful. I love it. I love going out and activating. And as soon as I got into CW, man, it was like starting over. Like I just discovered it again.
Okay, so that's interesting. And that kind of brings us into the topic of tonight's show. And here's the thing.
It's time for my Zoom meeting.
It's time for you to come on stream. That's great. But I love it. See, he's not late, guys. We were just really early.
Yeah, you guys. I don't know what's wrong with you, man. I still got a half an hour to putz around.
I know, right?
So I knew Morse code when I was a kid, as far as I could write down all the letters because my dad was a big ham and he did it. And, I couldn't decode it when I was a kid, but I could write down all the letters and stuff. And, you get older and stuff and you don't do ham and you lost all that stuff. But when I first started doing ham, I heard Morse code and I was like, nah, that ain't for me.
Me too.
I'd never be interested in that. And Bill Brown, he kept telling me, because I set a goal that I was going to do a CW activation last year, and he's like, "Once you do it," I started hunting, and I made him my first contact, and he's like, "Oh, you're going to get hooked. You're going to get hooked." I was like, "Nah, yeah, okay." So it really does get you hooked. So, but what made you decide? All right, I'm going to do Morse code. What made you decide that?
I think it was the, honestly, I think it was like more or less the heritage of the whole thing. I just personally thought, man, like what a disaster if that language were to die, even though it's totally unnecessary. Like we have so many other ways of communicating, and stuff like that. And we go back to something that's just rudimentary and super slow and so much fun and so awesome. And like, it is to me the best mode. Like I'll get on to test an antenna. I might get on SSB for a minute, but for the most part, man, you'll find me down low in the bands and running CW because it's just fun. It's challenging. I was getting bored. Like I can go do FT8. That was the most bored I've ever been. Like it was certainly exciting to, wow, I just got Japan. Oh, I got India. Oh my God, Australia.
I got Japan, and I don't even know how I got them because it was just like,
yeah, and I didn't say anything to the guy. My computer did it all. I just clicked, oh, Japan. And, at first it was kind of exciting, but after a while, I was like, that just wasn't a ham radio to me anymore. I just stopped doing it. I just like, it takes forever to set up. And especially when you live in a bus, it's not just like hooked up, I got to go set everything up. So it's just a lot longer. But when I'm doing CW, man, I just plug my key in, or I like doing straight key too. That's kind of a challenge. But, I think as soon as I started learning it and I got to the point where I just finally one day said, I'm going to go do an activation now, and it was so scary, but everybody was super patient and, and it was me. I think the most important character you need to learn is a question mark. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people were patient. They were sending their call signs multiple times, and I was starting to get it and getting better at it. Pretty soon, every once in a while, I'd get a, like a 5 or 6 digit call sign without having to ask for a question mark. And that was like, oh yeah, I'm a ham radio operator, and it was so much fun. And there's such a great group of people, and they're just so patient and just so cool about it. So that's I love it. I think it's the best mode.
So
it made ham radio fun again.
So let me get this straight. Did you spot on POTA and they were patient?
Yeah. I mean, there's still pileups, man. And the craziest thing with CW pileups, do you guys do CW?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Well, Dan does a little bit. He does a lot of hunting. You know what
those pileups sound like? What was that? So yeah.
It sounds like FT8.
Yeah, kind of. One of my
that
secrets
was the good
is
part.
I turn off like 10 kilohertz or so I can so they can actually hear me above all that racket when I'm like hunting and stuff.
That was the good part. A couple of weeks ago, I actually did my first CW activation, and the bands were crappy, so I could spot and not have to worry about a pileup. I think the most I got were like maybe 3 or 4 at a time, right? So I can handle that.
I just shot a video just for advertising one of my new antennas, and I went out to Montezuma Pass. I had altitude there. I had like everything. Like I was ready to go. And this was on, I think it was Saturday, and it was horrible. I only got, I'm like, oh, what a great antenna video. I only got 4 contacts in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, what a great antenna I've made, you
Right.
know. And but I realized, because I'm also a software developer, and so I wrote some software that kind of looks at was it the not the reverse beacon network? Maybe it is the reverse. One of those things. Whisper, and I can look at Whisper in such a way that it kind of shows overall how well their system is doing. And I got back and I looked at that, and the one I look at is this guy who has a fantastic Whisper setup on his property, and he wasn't even getting across the pond. He always gets across to Europe. He wasn't getting to Europe, but I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe it wasn't my antenna. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
it was pretty bad over the weekend for sure. I mean, there's been a couple of days because I do a lot of driving for photo because, well, first off, I like to get different parks. I've already did all the ones in my state, so I got to drive.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I drove all the way to Ohio. I think it was last weekend or the weekend before, and I was going to do a bunch of them. I did the first activation. I said, I'm going back home. I ain't wasting no more gas. Of course, I got activated, but, it wasn't worth me driving around wasting because I get 12 miles to the gallon. Of course, you probably
Right.
get less than that in a bus, but yeah, I was like, no, I'm going home. I'll activate tonight when it gets better.
Right. Yeah. No, it was bad. And I'm usually, when I go out with CW, I'm always QRP. So, I was running my FT817. So I definitely wasn't getting out. It was pretty bad, but it is fun when we have those good days, and you're pulling in, on a compromised antenna, and you're pulling in from Europe. And those are great days. I love those.
Nice. All right, so tell us about your setup. What do you run for CW?
I have a few radios that I run for CW. I kind of rotate through them. I got the Venus radio. I've got the FT818. The FT818 is kind of my favorite. I have that in like an arm. Have you seen those Armalot cases you can get for them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have that, and then I 3D printed a big Bioenno battery holder on the bottom, and it
Okay.
snaps into the bottom of the thing, so it's just all one piece, but I can go all day on that thing.
Nice.
And it slides down in like the camelback slot of your backpack, and so like it's great. I don't even have to take it out of my backpack, and I can just pull out my antenna. So one of the things that of the antennas I make are speedy, very fast deployment. So I can set up my TAC Daddy antenna in under a minute. I can pull it out of the pack, set it up. I'll be on the air 1 minute, and I like that. So that's kind of one of the goals I was trying to work with when I was building these antennas. So I have the Pentec TR35. My base station here in the bus is my FT891. I have one of those true SDXs, but and then I have this really cheap Chinese one. It was a no name, but it's terrible. It works, but if someone gave it to me as a gift, I'd be like, oh, thank you. A ham radio, cool, but it's terrible. The True SDX, I've done a couple activations with that one. What else? I feel like I'm forgetting something here. Oh, yeah. I have what is that? Darn it. Who makes that stupid? The Chinese radio, SDR radios.
Xiegu, whatever you call it.
Xiegu. I got the Xiegu 5105, X9100, and then I have the G20 also. Or G90? Is it G90?
G90.
G90, yeah. So I have those three. And the X5105 is actually my favorite out of those three by a margin. Yeah. Especially for CW. The battery lasts forever in that stupid little radio. It just keeps going. So
nice. And of course your antenna is your favorite, but what other antennas do you use?
Actually, for field use, I'm kind of a big vertical guy. So one of the inspirations for my antennas is actually the JPC 12. If you haven't played with that, Chinese multi-part. Comes in a little bag about the size of a laptop and has a ground spike, but you can screw it on. The base has a 3/8 thread. So and I'm surprised how many people don't know this, but if you get an antenna that you could take the ball head off, I'm sorry, a tripod that you could take the ball head off, there's a 3/8 thread just waiting for you right there. And if you get a tripod that articulates really flat, you have an excellent base for an antenna. And so I pull one of those out. I'll put, any number of verticals that I have or I've made. I've made my own wolf rig coil type ones, but I'll run like the MFJ 1979, the big whip on there. So you're pretty much on 20 meters, you're getting a full or a quarter wave antenna. And then I've been doing tons of experimentation with counterpoises. 13 feet, guys, for whatever reason, 13 feet is so good. But yeah, so I'm kind of big on verticals. I have made quite a few end-fed half waves. I like using those, especially because I'll do some kite ops also. I have a really great kite, and that thing will carry up pretty much anything. And so I'll run kite ops with my end-fed half wave, and I've made huge contacts with that thing. My goodness.
Nice.
It's
I
awesome.
actually did a kite activation when I was down in Florida, and the pileup was crazy because everybody knew I was doing a kite activation. Everybody went in, and I mean,
Right.
I got out super good when we did that.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's great.
It's
And it's just
actually-
innovative, It's Marconi that's how he made his first contact. So, but yeah, so I just vary it, but I kind of I like using verticals just for the ease of use and and I'm in Arizona right now, not a lot of trees. Even when I was in Denver, like there wasn't a lot of trees to go activate, you know, and then hauling all that extra stuff and chucking stuff into trees and stuff. I'll set up a vertical. It just works.
I'm a vertical guy. I can go with that. So that's for sure. So what I do like about your CW journey is, as a YouTuber, he's filmed like from his first activation on. So you can see all the pains and everything when you watch his journey. Where my first several activations. First off, I didn't even spot in POTA. I just had a group in Discord of like 20 people, and I would spot there, and just to get me used to doing it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And but even when I started spotting on POTA, I'm yet to film just a full CW activation. I need to because I've done an activation every day this year in CW, but I'll film a couple of contacts and then throw it in with my side bands and stuff. But it's quite funny because because I film an activation tomorrow, it may be 3 weeks before I'm got that one into edit to go out, and I watch the CW and I'll be like, man, I was slow. That was 3 weeks ago and I was slow. But when you do it a lot, you pick up that good. But yeah, I like how you did that. You got your whole journey on there, so that's really cool.
I was kind of following in the footsteps, like the way Thomas Witherspoon did it. I really like, K4SWL because he's so pleasant. And, but, in watching his format for a video, I'm like, well, I can, that's the easiest format in the world. Shoot everything, don't edit. I mean, that makes it a lot easier because editing is where the real tough part of making videos is. There's nothing like shooting videos easy. But getting back in the studio and spending hours and hours and hours editing, so I didn't want to do that. So I figured, I might show kind of do an intro and then show, set it up right where I'm doing Morse code and let's go. And I kind of felt like I had a niche there because, I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to people to see that you could do it, and see the struggle, because the struggle, to see where the problems are going to come in. And the struggle really was, just understanding, but realizing that the people were patient enough to work with you to get those calls through. And, the CW crowd they're because every single one of them wants you to succeed, you know. So that you never, and you don't have time to argue in CW, you know, because it takes too long to yell at somebody. So like CW is just a bunch of people that are patient, and because that's the mode. It's the patient mode.
At what point did your brain stop imploding? I've done 4 or 5 CW activations now, slow, and I use question mark a lot. So if you work me in a park, you're going to be repeating your call sign at least twice. But I find after 15 or 16 QSOs, my brain just goes into meltdown mode.
I know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about. It was the first few for me too. I would say that I don't know, maybe the first 10 or so.
Right.
But I still practiced at night. So I used like this little app on my phone, and I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it. I use this app here. It's
Okay.
only on Android though, so sorry you Apple people. But I have this one, and I would tell you the best way to do this is to turn that speed up to like 23 words per minute, because it takes time to learn even how to use these properly. Turn that speed up to like 23, 25 words per minute, like unintelligibly fast, right? And then go into the settings and space those out.
Right.
Space it out like 5 times. And what you'll find is you're going to start hearing the letters, just the sound, the whole sound, just,
Right.
you know, instead, just like when I say W, that whole sing-songy word meant something.
Right.
And same thing with CW. If you just did it, you know, and it's there, you know, and so I really encourage people to do that, because even when I took a break here, because I haven't really been out doing it much until like this weekend was the first time I went out to try to activate. And I even forgot V, right? Because I was going to send V, and I was like,
Yeah.
but if you played it to me, da-da-da-da, real super fast, I would have known it was a V. Because the sound, it now is starting to translate, but it's not so good. Like, I'm afraid to get on like the Century, or what is it, the Straight Key Century Club or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a member, but I haven't done anything because I'm afraid to have a long conversation with somebody because I'm so bad at Morse code, you know?
Right.
So, you know, there's a difference though. There's a difference. There is Morse code, and there is
absolutely
Morse code.
Yeah.
Morse code has a very standardized format. So even though they might say something weird after they sent their, signal report to you, it's a signal report because you've heard it
Yep.
Every time. But then they send something afterward. You're like, what was that? And then they send TX. Okay, there's Texas. Okay, moving on. And so it's very easy to do Morse code. But that's the best way to get yourself right into that.
Good deal.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. You said earlier it's a language that you didn't want to see disappear. And it is a language because, when everybody starts doing it, a lot of people will make the mistakes of counting dits and dahs, which you shouldn't do, guys. It's a very bad mistake. You need to start from the beginning of hearing them as letters, not dits and dahs. And what he was saying about, 23 words a minute and then doing your Farnsworth spacing, that's absolutely true, because when I do my activations right now, I'll post it in Podin. I'll put 16 words a minute max. Now, there will be some guys that will come in there and they'll send about 25 words a minute speed, but they'll space them out. And believe it or not, I hear those guys better than I hear the people that send in 16 words a minute with 16 words a minute spacing. I can pick them right out when they're doing that. There's a Victor Echo 3. All I got to do is hear his Victor Echo 3, and I've got his whole call sign typed in because I know who he is, just the way he sends. But he sends really fast like that, and he sends the same way every time. And it becomes a language, and you don't hear dits and dahs anymore. You hear letters. And that's why I would rather you go above my speed now than super, super low. Like if you're, and I'm not saying anything bad about beginners that are trying, but you need a more experienced activator than me, because if you're sending at like 8 or 9 words a minute, I can't decode it because all I'm hearing is dits and dahs. I don't hear letters.
Oh my God, that is so much the truth, man. It is very difficult to hear those really slow guys, and try to like what was that?
It warps my
What letter
brain.
is
Like,
that? Sounds
yeah,
familiar.
it totally did. It totally does. It warps my brain. There was a guy one time, and I ended up pulling him out. He wasn't super, super slow, but he was slower than I like. And I question marked him like 10 times for his last letter. And the worst thing about it was Z, which I send him my call sign every single day, but I could
Right?
not understand what he was sending.
That's funny because sometimes I'm like, how do I send Z again? Like, it's in my call sign, man.
Yeah. So did you find that certain call signs, just the order of the call sign, like the letters would be easy to you, but the order they were in were harder to you? They give you fits every time for a while.
Gosh, I would say that I don't know. It's just sometimes like you're going through and you're in an activation, you're copying call signs, you're doing pretty good, and then there's that one that you have to ask a guy like 5 times for some reason, and you're just like, and you're looking at this call sign, you finally get it. And it was clear. It wasn't like down in the noise or anything, and for some reason you just was turned dumb for a second and forgot how to do Morse code. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to even. I'm hoping that my Morse code just gets to this, like, fluent like English, where I just, I want to be watching a movie with a German U-boat tapping stuff out, or a boat sinking and he's sending his SOS call, and maybe he was just saying, "Hey John, what are we doing for lunch later?" Or maybe he is sending something about, I don't know, but I want to be able to just like hear that in the background. Go, oh, what? Oh,
And for the people who get frustrated, I'll tell you what's going to help you get that way is practice, practice, practice. Because I started Morse code at the beginning of last year, and then I was practicing left and right, and then I went to Hamcation, and I got off my practice schedule, and I stayed down there for a month, and I'm totally off my practice schedule for this month, and I come back, and I can't do nothing, and I get frustrated, and I just stopped. I just totally stopped. And then toward the end of last year, Kyle's like, "Hey, dude, your goal was to do a CW activation. You got to do a CW." And he hounded me and hounded me and hounded me. And here it is. I'm like the last week of the year, and I'm like, "I'll do it on December 31st. I'll do it." So here, December 31st, I do this first activation, and it was horrible. I wasn't ready, and then I say I'm getting 5,000 CW contacts next year, and I've did POTA on CW every single day since, and
that's awesome.
And that's how I've gotten. I'm not good, but I've gotten. If you watch a video of me back in January and then you watch a video of me now, it's a world difference, and I've gotten so better. But I still get those moments where a call that I've sent 100 times, they're sending. I'm like, huh? Who?
It's weird.
What?
Yeah.
I
do a lot of.
Go ahead.
I do a lot of real world practice with other people's activations, like James and other activators that I hear. If they're really strong to me, what I'll do is I'll listen to their pileups and I'll write down the call signs that I hear in their pileup. And if they go back to one of the call signs I got written down, I'll see if they heard the same thing I did, the same letters. So that's a good way that I practice. Oh, did you freeze, Bus?
I don't know. I think he may have froze.
That's a good shot, though.
Oh, there we go.
There you are.
He's thinking.
I was doing I was doing my videos, and I had this guy named Mark. I can't remember his call sign right now, Mark Rosen's his name, and he was he said he was inspired by what I was doing, and he was going to do his first POTA activation. And at the time, I was working in my 50 states, and this guy was going to be doing it in Hawaii, and I didn't have Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
And man, he got on there and did it, and I got him.
Nice.
And so it was like this full circle thing that happened there. I got somebody to do Morse code in Hawaii because there's like nobody. And so I finally got somebody to do Morse code in Hawaii. And I actually got him at the same time I was getting my I've been to Padre Island twice now, and we stayed there for like 3 months in the bus on the sand, right? And this year I had a DX Commander with me set up on the sand, 28 radials. Like, this thing was a beast. If you want to get a good antenna, just go get DX Commander.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
amazing. But I was finally able to I got a CW Kilo, a Padre.
Very nice. Nice.
And there was days I was doing like 120 contact.
Holy crap! That's a lot of CW, because I've had like one day where I've had that many, and that's a lot of CW.
I would be tossing and turning at night, just hearing code and ringing in my ears. That's crazy.
I think he froze up on us again. But yeah, Dan, I know what you're saying. When I first started, there was, after about 14 or 15 calls, I was like, yeah, I'm about done with this.
Yeah.
All right. I usually don't have this problem with the internet. I have Starlink on the bus here, and this is the first time I've had any dropouts, so it's kind of interesting. But what I was saying, it goes away, and pretty soon you won't even, there will be no nerves. I'm going to go get a whole bunch of contacts. We're going to do POTA today, and it'll just be fun, and you'll just enjoy it.
Yeah, that's me now. I'll just well, again, Kyle, he's like, you're just going to have to rip the Band-Aid off and start spotting in POTA. So now I spot on POTA all the time, and it's not a big deal to me anymore. I just do it. And, there's going to be people that I don't get, and there's going to be people that I do get, so I can only get what I hear,
Yeah. Plus spotting like the reverse beacon network, so you can set up an activation and go somewhere there's just no cell phone service. And as long as you can send your call sign clear enough with a CQ, POTA's going to spot you. I love that. I've used that multiple times now.
Absolutely. Because if you go into places that you're not going to have service, you just set up that activation and you go do CW and you're good. So.
Yep. Yeah, I love that part.
And that's how I started, because when I first started doing those activations, I would send CQ POTA after I spotted in Discord, and I wouldn't send my call sign with the CQ. I'd send it with when I was talking to him, because I knew it would spot me. And then once I started getting used to those guys, then I started doing it like that, and I started getting extra people, because people who had me on ham alerts was doing, but I still wasn't spotting in POTA. And now I like to spot on POTA, but I still give my Discord guys, I try to give them about a minute head start, because sometimes the pileups can be a little rough to break through.
Yeah, especially if you go out there if you bring a real radio with you, like an FT891, and want to go play POTA, watch out, man. You will get buried.
Okay,
that'll bring pileups like you've never seen before.
All right, so now we're
like CW is like, what is it? It's like, I want to say 40 times more efficient than SSB. So, when you're keying up at SSB, like, it's nothing like keying up CW. You're being heard all over the world.
It'll bring all the boys to the yard.
So yeah. Most of the time you're QRP and you're running what, 5 watts?
Yeah, 5 or 6 watts. Yeah, with my 818. Yeah.
Okay, so if you take the 891 out, what watts are you running CW?
Oh, I'd put it to 100. I'd go for it. I would totally go for it.
See,
because here's the thing: when I was on the beach in at Padre Island, I was pushing a pretty good antenna out there, and I think I was running like 80 or 90 watts through that thing. I bet that coil, it was smoking. But man, like I was getting Europe all the time because I'm on the ocean also, so I'm getting that water. Plus, I'm pushing power. Plus, I'm using CW. Like I had everything going for me. The pileups were insane. The pileups would go on for like 30 minutes, like non-stop.
See,
Where I couldn't even take a drink of water, like because my hands were too busy.
I was hoping you were going to help me out here because Dan's all the time trying to get me to run more watts. I run 33.
Baby.
I run 33 watts on CW, and he's all the time like, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up.
It's like it's fun, and I think it's really good practice to work through pileups. It's just the problem is where, like, and everybody who's done CW experiences this is when, you hear a letter and you're like, it's like, or a couple letters, you're like, oh, Delta Mike, I got one. Delta Mike, question mark. And there's like 3 people with Delta Mike. And you're never going to get rid of them. And all 3 of those guys are always going to keep sending at the same time over and over and over. And you're going to sit there trying to work through that for 5 minutes.
The worst one is all you hear is an N. It's like, oh, do I really want to send this?
Oh, right. No.
but that's the bad thing too, is when you're sending Delta Mike question mark and you get somebody that don't even have Delta Mike in there that wants to send on top of them. And
he must have meant Delta in November. I know he did.
It's the same. It's the same guys that are in the POTA in the sideband contest. When I say Whiskey Delta 4 Delta Alpha November, and they're like Alpha Bravo 2 Charlie Lima.
That's
Whiskey
close.
Delta 4.
Right.
I'm like, come on.
Or there's always that guy that like sends his call sign 5 times.
5 times.
Yeah.
And he's running like total 1500 watts.
Yeah,
and he's got a Yagi antenna pointed right at you, and and he comes in, but he's going to send that 5 times just to make sure.
That's when you question mark him and send him back a 229.
That's what I should have. Yeah, that's a good idea. I got you 229.
Yeah.
And I'll get people that you'll call CQ and they'll hit the pile, and you'll have the one guy that send it 5 times, and then he'll go in and throw his whole signal report in there, what state he's in, and then send this call 3 more times. And I'm like, huh? What just happened?
There's that standard call, and the people that do Morse code in their normal with not outside of POTA don't seem to follow the POTA structure very well. They always want to do the DE this and all that stuff. And when I have a pile up, man, I'm just like, come on, man. Especially if they're slow. And I feel bad. The guy's probably like 95 years old, right? And he's using a straight key, and he has got a horrible fist, and he's slow.
Somebody did that to me. I was running 5
He's following the standard way.
Yeah, and I was running 5 watts.
And you're just
started their call sign with the DE. I'm like, I got freaking Germany on 5 watts.
I'll tell you what messes with me too is, if I'm hunting, I can hear my call sign come back every time so easy. But when somebody will send my call sign and then go DE and send their call sign, I'm like, wait, what? I was like,
that actually DE messed me up for so long, because a lot of times when you would say question mark and they'd start with DE, so I'm writing D E. What kind of call sign is that? What country is this? It took me a long time to figure that out.
So can you give anybody any tips if they want to get started?
Oh man, I think the best tip I can give them is practice really fast speed code with big Farnsworth spacing. That's the best tip. That is, you just have to get those letters coming in so that you understand them as letters and not trying to decode like ... dash. Oh, that's a U. If you have a piece of paper that has Morse code on it, put it away or throw it.
Get rid of it. Yep, absolutely.
But do not use that for any reason. That will destroy Morse code. If you start doing Morse code that way, it'll be very difficult to transition over to hearing it. Very difficult, because you'll just continually try to decode it in your head, and you
Yep.
can't.
And then you'll look at that paper. You'll hear something.
Yeah.
You'll look at that paper.
You'll plateau, like 15 words a minute or something like that. You'll just plateau, and you'll just never, and it'll be so frustrating. You'll never get good.
Because it's funny, because my very first activation, as I said, I wasn't ready for. I knew everybody that was in that group that I was going to spot in. I literally had all their call signs wrote down on paper, for when they sent, so I can try to piece this together. And I was like, I'll just do this for the first time. So the second time I get ready to go out and I grab that paper again. I'm like, and after that I was like, you know what? I'm crutching this. So I threw it away and I just started going from that third one on, and no more paper. Get rid of that.
I would say also that if you're going to go out and do your first activations, for somebody who are just like on the precipice, use paper. Write your call signs down. It's just very difficult to go back and forth to your computer and like hitting delete and stuff like that. You could just write, and you can write in between this, in between characters and stuff like that, and you can enter it later. But it's much easier to just do paper logs when you're starting out than it is to try to bring a computer out there and log that stuff.
See, I think I would be better too if I wrote down my stuff, because unfortunately I have this gift where in Sideband I go through some crazy pileups, and I can keep a lot of call signs in my head.
Wow.
Matter of fact, there was an activation this morning. I was still going with activators, and I was like 3 or 4 call signs behind as I'm typing, and I'm just keeping them in my head, and I keep banging them out. But
that's amazing.
Will, from the beginning, I have heard the call. I'll send the call back, and as they're sending the signal report, I put it into my computer. But I feel like some of these stations that I question mark, I may have got better if I wrote it down like that. So I agree with you there. But I've tried to learn it from where I'm head copying it from the beginning. That way I'm not relearning later.
That's good. That's the best way to do it, man. That's the best way. CW, it's a lot of fun, and it just, it'll bring back the joy you had when you first started doing ham radio, when you get into it. And it just doesn't seem to go away. I just love doing it. I feel like it's like a secret code. I'm a spy.
It is crazy, because I said, again, my whole idea behind the activation, my first CW activation last year, again, that was just to make my dad proud. My dad passed. I'm always, he was big CW. So, I went all the way to extra because of him, and I was like, now I got to do Morse code. And I had no intention. And then I just randomly, because I'm Mr. Competitive with myself, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get 5,000 contacts next year. And every CW guy in my club's like, that's too much. That's too much. You ain't even did CW yet. That's too much. And, here, the first day of April of this year, I had 5,000 contacts. So,
nice.
I'm a competitive person, but, it's just, I didn't think I would like it. And now, it's like when I first started, I got this little CW Morse key, and, I like, that's good. I'm never going to want nothing else, because I'm not going to like CW that good. And now, I've got a Bengali, and it would never go back to anything else, because I love the thing. And
yeah, I've always said, if you don't know Morse code, you can't buy a Morse code key. You can, if you're going to learn it, you can get one, but you can't have a collection of awesome Morse code keys, because it's taboo. You can't. But if you know Morse code, that opens up, like, now you're like looking at that key, like, I know it's a couple $100, but I mean, I'll put a lot of use into that thing.
It's crazy. I've got them on my Bengali, and I love it. But then here I go to Dayton, and I'm looking at another Bengali. I was like, ooh, I really like that one. I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
I know the feeling.
Actually, in my shop back here where I'm working at, I have a CNC machine in there, and a lathe, and and a mill and stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm gonna make my own. I want to make something nice.
That's good stuff. Well, I hate to cut it short, but we're actually 10 minutes over stream time already. If you guys have not checked out his channels, make sure and go check them out. They're great stuff, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. What you got coming up? Let everybody know what you got coming up. Give yourself a little plug here.
Actually, I'll probably be going out doing some videos with my new antennas. I got 2 new antennas that I'm working with, my Mr. Big Stick and my Tac Daddy antenna. And the Tac Daddy's a base loaded, but it uses those collapsible military whip, the breakdown ones. And the Mr. Big Stick is just a very small base, holds a basically a MFJ 1979 vertical on it. So I'll be going out and shooting videos with those because both pretty good antennas and stuff. And if you want to go check out the antennas I'm making and selling, it's www.radioactiveantennas.com.
There we go. And we will be doing the Patreon after chat, and you are welcome to come. We can get you set up if you have Discord already. If not, we can get you set up anyway.
I don't even know how to get in Discord. I can write software. I've never been on this Discord server in my life.
Well, we can get you set up if you're interested. Regardless, I want you to hang around because I want to talk to you about your antennas for a second.
Sure.
Dan, I know what you're doing. You're gonna be going for a plaque this weekend.
Plaque weekend, man.
All of them.
I'm gonna work all of them. That's what I'm gonna do. Somebody said, "Which plaque are you going for?" I said, "Yes."
Mm-hmm. For myself, I will have my Thursday video drop at 4 p.m. Eastern, as always, and I'll be doing POTA every day until something stops me, and I don't know what that would be. So you guys know how to get me for sure. I don't know if I'm competing for a plaque. I'll be out all weekend. I don't know if I've decided to compete or not.
How does that plaque thing work?
Well, there's a lot of different categories. You can't use any twofers. You can't use any of the bands that you can't. Basically, it's a contest, so you can't use any of the bands that into work bands or 60 meters. You can't use. But they've got like most contacts, most CW contacts, most parks. And they've got hunter categories and activator categories. So,
man, that sounds like fun. I'm gonna have to give you guys a run for your money here.
There we go. There we go. All right, so we will catch y'all the Patreons in the after chat. If you are not a Patreon and would like to be a member of the after chat, you can go over to the Patreon, sign up for a 7-day free trial. The top activator, and you can pop in there tonight. We'll get you set right up. Other than that, thanks everybody for stopping by tonight and all the donations in 73.
Thanks for hanging out late, guys. 73.
See you guys. Sorry I was late.